Beetlejuice Beetlejuice might be the first good Tim Burton movie in 10 years. And I don't think that's exaggeration or hyperbole, because if you look at the films he's made from 2024, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, all the way to 2014, he's made 3 films. Dumbo, Miss Peregrine's House of Whatevers, and Big Eyes. 3 movies that are either incredibly forgettable or incredibly terrible.
I'll hold him off as long as I can.
You're going to realize you are a terrible shot with that thing.
And if you go back another 10 years to 2004, it's also hit and miss, although there are some bangers in there. Corpse Bride's in there, but there's also Alice in Wonderland.
What is he doing?
This is all to say that Tim Burton in the last 20 years has been anything but consistent, and honestly, it's been probably more like 30 years. His last really, truly great film, Ed Wood, was from 1994. So to say I had my expectations sort of on the fence would be an understatement. The trailers didn't look that great for this. I wasn't too keen on a legacy sequel, 36 years later? I don't know what virus has infected his brain in the last 30 years, but Tim Burton just seems like he hasn't had that magic he used to. Maybe it's a lack of creativity, maybe it's a lack of imagination, maybe it's a lack of passion, I don't know, but things like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie make me want to spew vomit all over my lap whenever I think about them. No, I'm good.
What's happening to me?
I kind of enjoyed this film, and I'm as shocked as anybody to say that out loud. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is a movie that, should it exist? Probably not. And yet, it's not that bad. These legacy sequels, reboots, soft reboots, whatever you want to call them, typically don't need to exist. And they need to answer a question of why they should exist. Now, I don't think this film really answers that well, and it's sort of a catch-22 in what it should do, so I don't know why you'd do it in the first place. Because a movie like this, you have really 2 options. One is to go a completely different route, and they're not going to do that. 2 is to do more or less the same route with the same characters, and that's typically where they go. And that's why these movies are always struggling to answer the question of why they should exist, because typically it's just the same movie more or less again. But this one manages to find some interesting little crevice to jam itself into. It's not exactly anything unique or original or really that different from the original, but this film does feel like it had a reason to be outside of just, hey, we're doing a Beetlejuice movie, come down to the theater and check it out. You easily could have done a Beetlejuice movie with 2 new people that died and came back that he suckered into helping in their afterlife, or where he's either more evil or the characters he's helping are more evil than him. You could have done something like that very easily and just made it more or less the same plot as the first one, and I'm happy they didn't. And the entire movie is about kind of dealing with grief, moving past your trauma, and finding a new life. Not dwelling on something that you shouldn't, not dwelling on dead people, not dwelling on certain past things, and moving on. That's what the whole film is about. Even at the end, the couple of characters move on to the afterlife. They move on from this world, and the characters that are left over move on from their past. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that it tried to have this connection between Winona Ryder as a mother to this child, Jenna Ortega, and they don't have a great relationship. Jenna Ortega doesn't trust her because Winona Ryder has gone off and been famous and doing all these talks about ghosts and kind of abandoned her, forgotten about her, and I enjoyed that they have that kind of dynamic where they have to learn to trust each other, and that's what the whole film is generally about.
Ghosts aren't real. Only gullible people believe that kind of crap.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
I think Tim Burton did want to pay this film a certain reverence because of Beetlejuice 1 and how popular that is. I mean, the character of Beetlejuice and the aesthetic of that film is such a iconic thing at this point. So it makes sense that Tim Burton would want to pay this a certain respect, and I really enjoyed that he did, and it really does feel like he's trying. The camera's moving in a way that's interesting. There's actual set design. They shoot on locations, which I know sounds like the bare minimum, but when you look at something like Alice in Wonderland or Dumbo, it makes a difference.
What is that?
Actually having characters on locations, actually interacting with locations, actually interacting with real people, real creatures, real makeup, real costume design, real effects work makes a difference. And you can tell that the characters are interacting with the costumes, that they're interacting with the effects, because a lot of these effects look really fun. They're really fun and cartoony. People are cut in half at the bottom. There's a Santa Claus guy that's like burnt to a crisp. He died going down a chimney, I'm assuming. And there's fun little things like that that you don't really get from bland CG work that has dominated Tim Burton's career. So I'm very happy that he went back to that. And I'm very happy that he did it for this story, especially at the end when you get this climactic wedding where things are going crazy, people are spinning up into the rafters. There's even a great sequence when Jenna Ortega kisses a guy and they end up like floating into the air. That's really nice looking. There's some good work in the film, and I really enjoyed some of the production design. It's so Halloween-y. It feels so fall, and I love fall. I also enjoyed that the movie has a lot of fun with itself. It's not too serious, as it shouldn't be, and it's very cartoony. It's also really graphic and kind of violent and gory in a way that I didn't expect. This could easily have been rated R if they didn't cut some things down and bleep out some swear words, which they do for comedic effect, but also because they would have gotten an R rating if they didn't.
What the f?
And for that reason, it's kind of hard to recommend as a family movie. A lot of people think of that first Beetlejuice as a family movie. In fact, I remember in 8th grade, they would play it at what we called flex time, which was like this 15-minute period between lunch and our like second period class where you could get caught up on homework or go do something fun. And they played Beetlejuice in the auditorium, which they quickly turned off after Beetlejuice goes to a strip club.
I wonder where a guy, an everyday Joe like myself, could find a little action. Yeah.
So that one wasn't really a family film, even though it's remembered kind of as one. But this one's very much not. It's a lot more graphic. It's a lot more bloody. It's a lot more gory. There's the character Charlie, who's bitten almost in half in the entire film. He's talking through tubes protruding out of his body that shoot blood every now and again. There's a tiny little mini-me Beetlejuice creature effect that's like biting people and sending blood everywhere. I personally enjoyed that. But I could see if you bring your family to this for whatever reason, I don't know why you would, that's sick, you're a sicko, and I would totally do it. I could see the kids not enjoying that so much, but I would do it. I'm a sicko. So I enjoyed big parts of this film, and I enjoyed the performances as well. I think Winona Ryder is kind of a little bit too animated, a little bit too dreamy for me. But Jenna Ortega's good. Michael Keaton is great as Beetlejuice. I don't know why I doubted him. He has some really great moments in this that actually made me laugh out loud. So props to you. And Winona Ryder's boyfriend guy, I had a lot of fun with as well. There's some great gags all over the film. Really good comedic timing. Willem Dafoe is fantastic in this. He's hilarious. He has some of the best moments in the entire film. In fact, my favorite running joke in the film is when Willem Dafoe shows up on screen and he just continually is getting a cup of coffee from his assistant. Every scene, she just walks in and hands it to him like it's just the most nonchalant thing, and no one was laughing but me. I felt insane. The last scene in the film, he gets unfrozen. He has his gun like this, and he gets unfrozen and immediately reaches back and has a cup of coffee. I was laughing. So a lot to like about this film, but I didn't love it. This is a film that has a lot of issues, especially in the first act, which is just a complete mess. It's trying to set up every little thing it possibly can for later, and it does it in such a haphazard, slapdash, fast-paced way that I had a difficult time understanding what was happening or why it was happening. You have to establish Winona Ryder and her ghost house career. You have to establish that her husband's gone. You have to establish that her dad is dead or just died. You have to establish that Catherine O'Hara has a weird career where she uses her body as a form of art. Then you have to establish Jenna Ortega and her struggle with her mom. Then you have to establish that they go back to the house to have a funeral. Then you have to establish that Beetlejuice is hanging out in the afterlife. Then you have to establish that his ex-wife is back. And then you have to establish that Willem Dafoe is around as like the security guard of the afterlife. It's just a lot that it's trying to do all at once in like 10 minutes. And it's a mess because every scene was like, okay, we're here, now we're here, now we're here, now we're here, now we're here, and there's no connective tissue at all. In fact, Monica Bellucci's character as the ex-wife of Beetlejuice is one of the most bizarre and baffling characters in the film. In fact, I believe wholeheartedly if you took her character and completely removed her from the movie, nothing would change. She just does things over here for the entire thing. The story proper's over here, and she's like, I want to find Beetlejuice. And then she walks between rooms, and it says, I want to find Beetlejuice. She has like 4 lines. What the fuck is going on? I think it actually would have worked way better if we didn't know if Beetlejuice was lying about her or not. Like, if we didn't have any scene with her. You cut out the scene where he introduces that he knew her back in the past, which is actually a great scene with the black and white, and that was so fun.
What kind of woman could ever keep him satisfied? Well,
Te lo dirò.
But cut that out, cut every scene with her out, and he mentions her once or twice here and there. Oh, my ex-wife, and we're like, oh, okay, ex-wife, sure. And then she shows up at the end. I think that would work way better. Oh, he was actually telling the truth. Oh, look at that. There's a great moment when Winona Ryder and her boyfriend are up in the attic, and he's like, I'm gonna get you through this. And he says Beetlejuice 3 times, and then it takes them into the model, and he gives them couples counseling. That would have been a really fun moment to introduce Beetlejuice to the movie. And yet, we have seen him 10 times already following the murder of random people in the afterlife because this Monica Bellucci just choking people out and then sucking their soul and turning them into a human harmonica or accordion, whatever. I just didn't like that character. She has no sway on anything. She just shows up and does nothing the entire movie. It was shocking and baffling, and I didn't like it at all. I just didn't, just cut her. God, I honestly think that she actively ruins that first act because it is trying to set her up, it's trying to set the afterlife up, it's trying to set Beetlejuice up, it's trying to set Willem Dafoe up. If you just cut it all, that first act is really solid. The movie is really solid. The main story of Jenna Ortega trying to live her life past her dad being dead and grow up, and Winona Ryder trying to connect with her daughter is solid story right there. That's all you need. That's all it should have been. And yet there's this stupid, bizarre, and terrible subplot that goes on for the entire film, and there's large 30-minute sections without it in it where Monica Bellucci is just walking around. Bring in Willem Dafoe the moment that they go into the afterlife. Then we're like, ah, look, this is fun. There's like police in there. That's world building, not just having them show up and do nothing for half the film. That's stupid. I also don't really love what they do with Beetlejuice in this, and I don't really love what they do with Jenna Ortega's love interest, who is, turns out, spoilers, is a ghoul that's trying to manipulate her into helping him become alive, which is the most see-through twist of all time. Not that it is a big twist. And as soon as we find that out, he just, like, immediately dies. I thought he was going to be like the big bad at the end of the movie that Beetlejuice has to overcome. But no, remember, we set up Monica Bellucci's character as the big bad for no reason. And then she has to do nothing, even though she's the villain. Okay, great. This actual interesting, potentially cool villain that manipulated Jenna Ortega into giving her soul away just gets dispatched in 1 second. Who cares? Shit out of luck. Go to hell. That's the end of that character. An interesting subplot. Cool. Thanks. Beetlejuice, who in the first film is supposed to be this, like, anarchic, crazy, sinister demon, is just relegated to kind of fan servicey moments where he just does funny, wacky things and saves the day. It's like fine, I guess, but it's kind of weird to see. It's weird to see Beetlejuice helping people. I don't know. I didn't love it. He was trying to trick and manipulate people and scare people and freak them out in the first one. And now he's just like, I'm going to do things for you. Why not? I'm going to hold you contractually obligated. Ha ha ha. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. It's just, if you wanted to make Beetlejuice this Beetlejuice, where he is just kind of soft now, you absolutely needed to have a villain that can counter him as more evil. And Monica Bellucci is that. And also, Jenna Ortega's love interest guy is that. And yet neither of them are, because neither of them have enough screen time to do anything. It's so frustrating, man. It's so frustrating. This movie could have been better and should have been better because there is a lot of great stuff here. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of passion. And the story is solid. I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching these characters run around the afterlife, encountering weird and fun things. I enjoyed the dumb, terrible Soul Train, which is just a bunch of black people dressed up as disco guys dancing, which I don't know if that's like mildly racist, but I had fun with it. I enjoy anytime there's like weird dance numbers in a movie. Sue me.